It looks so pretty. Look, you made it at the making.
Right room.
We'll see you. Okay, we're good.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to our regularly scheduled DSS board meeting. Just a reminder to everyone in attendance and those on the board, to please silence your mobile devices. And I'll ask our DSS director to lead us tonight in the invocation.
So God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for our time serving God. I thank you for all of our blessings and just the ability to be here tonight and to help the community. And I ask that you just be with us in our decisions and moving forward with all of our plans. These things I ask. Amen.
I'll ask Commissioner Roberts.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5 brings us to the ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Have time to familiarize yourself with the ethics awareness and conflict of interest statement. Are there any potential or real ethics awareness or conflicts that need to be disclosed at this time? Here are none. Item number 6 is any additions or changes to the agenda. Here none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as it's presented.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 8 is the approval of the minutes from January the 3rd. I believe those are in your email. I'll entertain a motion that we accept those minutes as they're presented. I have a motion of your second. All those in favor, vote by usual sign. And that brings us to item number 9 on director's update. Good evening.
Once again, just going over some updates and things happening in the DSS. We are continuing to do our law enforcement and agency meetings. Our next one is the 14th of December, so on Valentine's Day. We will meet and go over both of these meetings. And the first one is the NBC, and that's 11, and then our law enforcement is at 3 o'clock. So if any of you would like to attend, you know, more than welcome to join us. Also, one of the things kind of in the pops is there's some training going around called the radar training, which is with the CAC. And some of our local law enforcement attended this recently. And we were also kind of planning on posting our own event, but we did, one of the officers did come up and meet with me and see, you know, about the possibility of us joining and doing this training together, which I think that's a really great idea because we'll just continue to strengthen relationships and we're all being on the same page. So I'm hoping we can do that.
What is the radar training?
It's an interviewing technique.
Okay, gotcha.
Like forensic interviewing.
Yes.
That way we're all kind of on the same page. So I think that's a really nice thing that we're planning on doing hopefully in March. One of the other things that we're working on as far as building community relationships is meeting with the health departments, and with all the changes with Medicaid, we're kind of joining there and we meeting with them over the next month or so. Just update them on the Medicaid changes.
What's live date? Do we have
For Bridgeport,
the Taylor plan
that's April 1st.
and April 1st? Okay.
I don't know.
Right now, everybody's on his good direct.
Well,
A lot of
I was
people-
like,
Okay, correct. The meeting with her to help them, what was it?
yes.
Okay.
just to kind of make sure we're on the same page, and a lot of that has to do with like our Hispanic homes, Medicaid eligibility, because, a lot of them, they're eligible and they don't even know it, so when they go into the health department, they may not even know that they're eligible for Medicaid or credits. So this is just training for us to educate them, so we're on the same page. One of the continuous updates, of course, will be around our energy assistance. We continue to be out of CIP and LEAP funds right now. We have still yet to see the supplements that I was so excited about. We have not seen those yet. However, there was a survey that was sent out last week asking each county if they needed additional funds for CIP and LEAP, and of course, we did complete that and say yes, we did. So we haven't heard anything back on it yet, but we are requesting additional funds. You know, the statewide portal rolled out. We talked a little bit about that too. It's still kind of a little bit of a mess. We did end up paying our local vendors just in-house DSS paying, but there's still Duke and French Fry has not been paid, and that's going to be an electronic payment. So just for an example, we have like 15 clients to call Friday complaining that their bill has not been taken care of because the automatic payment has not worked as smoothly as they had planned. So if you're hearing complaints about the energy and especially with Duke and French Fry right now, that's why that has to do with the state. It's not us.
They're not going to cut your power on for
Well, I don't think so. I mean, honestly, I think it's more the vendor being paid, and I haven't heard any of them yet. Yeah, I think it's more on the vendor side.
Well, that would be very sad if the money's there. It's not been designated because of malfunction of technology and somebody gets their power cut off.
We've had lots of clients to actually call in, and they are working with them so far. You know, I'm not gonna say that absolutely not, but I'm really hoping that they're working together on that.
So does the client receive the money or does the vendor receive the money? Okay.
And the issue, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, the issues with the pool program.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
an issue on our
Yeah,
behalf.
we just
Yeah.
kind of went ahead at the local level and paid our, like, our local propane, kerosene vendors.
They shoveled that pay too on the little bit.
They did, yeah, but we kind of took it, because they were not going to deliver it. And we didn't want them to not deliver it, so we just went ahead and paid.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's the right call. And you get reimbursed for that now?
Yes.
Okay. That was the right call. So.
Since you're out of assistance money, is there anybody that is in need, I mean, right now, that doesn't have heat or? I mean,
I'm sure, yes. We're trying our best to hook them up with churches, you know, different community groups. There's a group in Julie at the school. I think they're helping some just whenever we can. We're not saying that every need is being met, but when we hear about it, we're trying. Resources are kind of one million. So hopefully we do have a call Wednesday, so maybe we'll hear more about that on Wednesday. Update on potential of money coming in. Also on here, just continuing to update as far as like the PHE waivers ending. So this was all the COVID waivers, you know, the extra supplements like with FNS, our food and nutrition program. we've been hearing lots of rumors about it ending. It's gonna end this month, it's gonna end that month, and then they'll continue it. So, as of right now, they said it will absolutely end, the end of February for food and nutrition.
I saw your son's report up there.
Yes, we're trying to educate the community as much as possible, be on Facebook, talking to the lead, that sort of thing, when we can. The state has also been mailing letters out, and I just went ahead and printed, just so you guys can see what clients are getting, in regards to benefits. And on there, I think there is some information as far as like resources, like 211 and that. So they are trying to fill those gaps as well. You know, it may not be a huge difference for some clients, but you know, we all do. You know, $50 at the grocery store we take. You know, that doesn't go as far as for. Yeah, so I just wanted y'all to see that so you'll know what the community is getting in regards to their, just in case someone approaches you or has questions or wants to make a complaint, it's not us. One of the other waivers that will be ending is with our Medicaid. And this is due to end March 31st. So here again, you know, there have been some folks getting at Medicaid that would not be eligible for Medicaid originally. So that is ending March 31st. I don't know, it would be great if they did it all at the same month, but for whatever reason, they're doing it different months. I don't know, it would be great for the client, but it's as far as the program and keeping it consistent with it, but that does end on the 31st. So also along those timelines, like Brandon was saying, you know, we have the tailored plan launching April 1st. And also, I'm familiar with NCO Choice. That is another form of Medicaid for some of our families, and they are ending that service, but they are kind of shifting it under Medicaid.
Okay.
So there's no more health choice beginning April 1st, which in some ways it's going to be better for our families because there's no copay, and I think some additional coverage. So, so that will be in March 31st as well, moving on to Medicaid. And then also with Medicaid, we are still looking at the Medicaid expansion. And so I think
That's April 1st.
well, no,
No.
they're continuing, yeah,
Yes.
they're continuing to look at it. The legislation. So no word of when that might roll out, if it is passed. But just to let you know, we're looking at, if that does roll out, for our county alone, we're looking anywhere from 600 to 800 people more eligible for services for Medicaid, which that's normally our folks right now, as far as a caseload size, they're doing about 500 cases of Medicaid fees. So that's another person caseload.
Plus, right.
Yeah,
So I guess Medicaid expansion would be positive in that,
more people eligible.
and it might keep the hospital, you know,
Yeah.
in business and in the positive, but at the same time, it's gonna, you know, you got a system that's already stretched, you know, provide a lot of providers, mental health services to medical clinicians. So who's gonna serve all these people too?
So that's just something I kind of wanted to plant that seed, just so you would be aware of if this does pass and how this affects the county level, what that means. But it would enable, you know, our families that may not be eligible, will be eligible now for Medicaid. You know, it's going to be more folks insured, so. But it shows very, very little thing.
I think there's a pretty good chance, a decent chance of passing. This sounds like.
So, yeah, with those changes, we are kind of concerned, as far as our clients, our community as a whole, our cases and potential of needing another staff person. But these changes, I just wanted you guys to be aware of. Also, because if someone, have a complaint or a question, just so you're informed, the changes coming in. So, yeah, like I said, we do have a call Wednesday where there'll be some updates on things, and then next week, I'm at an actual 3 days, for a Western directors meeting. So 3 days. All right.
Or you have to go to Asheville.
You guys, any questions for me? Mr. Stonewall? Good afternoon.
So we've covered numbers. We've also, Commissioner Stephen had asked sometime last year to bring in some statistics from previous years. So when you all are looking at these numbers, what are we looking at? Are we looking up, or what, kind of give you some background as to, okay, when you're looking at the number today, what does that mean in the larger scheme of things, and what we were doing? When I say we, Tammy's team, Camille, Gooch, put these numbers together, crunched them, collecting together. So this is Tammy's team, working hard to get these numbers for us, going back multiple years to do that. So there is, so on this form here is going to give you the last 3 years, to give you kind of how are we trending.
That's great.
So again, with statistics, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, we're looking at something, that looks really strange, and our small numbers sometimes will skew things pretty good on things. But it's good for kind of keep an eye on things, but also for discussion at times if something does come up. Like just kind of look, for instance, like right now we're at 42 kids. If you look back at what we were for the last 3 years, in 2020, we were averaging 55 kids in custody. And then we've been trending down during that time, which is good. We've gotten a lot of kids out of our care and custody. We are trending up a little bit. We had a little bit of a spike if you look at the number of kids being taken into custody over the 3 years, as well as it trended way down right there in the middle, kind of in the COVID time, and then last year it spiked up again. So like last year we took 20 kids into custody, compared to like in 2021, which was 6, 2020, which was 13. So we had to spike a little bit. Now 3 of those kids are coming from another county because of conflict. So technically speaking, we're looking at 17 kids coming into our care, but we have had basically what would be 20 kid increase over that time frame. So we're up to 42 right now. So we are trending up.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm looking at this year's numbers now, where we're at.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So we did, like in January, we took 4 kids in the custody. So we're now up to 42 kids in foster care at this time. We still have 7 kids completely cleared for adoption. And we have 2 cases that are still in the appeal process. So once those clear the appeal process, we'll be up to 9. We're confident we'll get be able to get the appeal in our favor. Those 2 kids that are on appeal, they're already in pre-placement. So once we get that done, being able to get them adopted will be pretty quick, probably within 3 to 4 months, getting that process done. The 7 kids we have left in custody that are TPR, there are higher need kids that are in therapeutic placement, kids that still need a lot of help stabilizing before we can transition them into an adoptive placement. So that's why that number kind of isn't really moving much, is because those kids need a little more, help and services, wraparound services before we can get them into an adoptive placement. And also some of those are some older kids that don't want to be adopted, so they're falling in that category. We got one of those 7 is actually a 17-year-old. She's going to be turning 18 this year. So she's more transitioning towards independent living versus obviously adoption. So just give you some background on that. We have 2 families currently in the training process to become foster parents. We kind of look at the second page, the CPS intake. We had 21 calls that came in January. 16 of those were screened in, and at the end of January, we had 12 open assessment or investigation cases ongoing. Currently, we have three families in home services. APS, we had 9 cases, 9 calls. 8 of the 9 were screened in. So again, we're seeing that same trend where we've seen a little bit of an increase in the number of calls, but another thing with that is almost every single call we get is getting screened in because it qualifies for our service, or at least at our assessment process.
I was looking at those previous years, it looks like around 50% were screened in, but these numbers more closer to, I guess, 75.
Yes, if you look at our current trend, even, you know, if you look at where it was trending for most of last year, you're looking at 50%, really more like pumping more of a 75% range. I think, you know, overall. We've got 8 cases currently open in assessment. So that's basically, there's 8 cases where we're assessing whether that person needs additional APS services. So
And kind of what that says to me, Sean, you can correct me if I'm off base here, but we had basically the same individuals taking reports for the past couple of years. So if they're screening in more reports this year, it's a higher percentage. To me, that kind of says that they're following the guidelines consistently, and this year they're just meeting the guidelines like. Their reports meet the guidelines.
right, it's not a situation where our screening rate has increased because our staff has
Right,
changed.
same
The
staff.
same 3 staff have been there for multiple years. We do have a new staff member that's joined, that's moved over from CPS to APS. But that would not be a reflection on that individual screening differently. So what we are seeing is that when we're receiving a call, basically that person needs to be assessed.
It instills confidence to me, the fact that it's fluctuating, is that's been done correctly. I guess that's what I was going with that.
I'm very confident in our staff. They, you know, what they're screening, and when they're almost screening 100%, I mean, you can't have much complaint that they're not doing their job. So we have currently, because we're screening in so much, we're carrying 8 currently open assessments right now. Yes. The 204, which is basically a case management, the best way to describe it, we have 4 individuals open in case management, 2 in special assistance in home. We have 12 receiving payee assistance. And that's basically, payee is basically we receive all their funds and we pay all their bills. They're at home and we just help them manage their funds so they don't get out of whack and then lose their placement and end up deeper in the system. So this allows us to help manage their needs and make sure everything is done and they're cared for. Guardianship, again, that is one of those the biggest concern, in a sense. I say concern in the being able to balance that need, being able to balance one, as we expect that is going to increase, and if we look at statistically, we're up to from what we were last year. We have been up as high as 18 last year. So we expect that continue to trend up as our population continues to age. And so with that is just a lot of potential financial burden for the county, because once we get guardianship, again, the county becomes fully responsible and there's no state or federal funding to help offset that. So if whatever income they have coming in is what goes towards their care, and anything is short becomes 100% county. And that's where, that is where our greatest concern is one, obviously meeting the needs of our community and the individuals, but also trying to balance the exposure and making sure we can wrap around these in the least restrictive needs that we can, utilizing that before we go to the partnership situation. We're looking at childcare. We're serving 78 kids right now in subsidy. We're actually serving probably 50% or more compared to everybody else in the area, compared to the other counties surrounding us. We're basically almost doubling twice as many kids. So, and our team has done an extraordinary job wrapping around those families and trying to get them that support, which then allows that parent to work, not rely on the county, resources. And so we continue to do what we can there. You look at the workforce application, that has been a huge increase this month. 23 is a pretty good jump. It's been really busy. One of the things that's been driving that is kind of, again, the heating situations for families. So they're applying for emergency services through us because either the funds are out or other situations that come up. So we've been really busy in workforce as well.
How's workforce different on that, Sean? Is it state funds or?
It is, well, it's really where Tammy will be able to give you a little more
Okay.
definitive explanation.
We have a maximum that we have to, a minimum that we have to meet to be eligible to pull down federal funding, state and federal funding. It's called our MOE. That's $86,000 a year. We budget 30,000 of that 86 to meet workforce needs. So it's county money, but it makes us eligible to pull down the rest of our funding.
So we're able to, just make our dollars stretch a lot further.
Yes, once they hit that 30,000, once Deanna spends that money, she's done for the year.
Is daycare so, how are we able to do so much better with our daycare subsidy?
It's different. It doesn't fall under workforce. It's totally different. It's under a partnership for.
What versus food nutrition and
It comes through the state funding, and Wendy will probably be able to give you a little more, but basically it's coming through the state down to the partnership, Blue Ridge Partnership for Families for Children.
Yeah, but so the subsidy, yeah, they have to allot so many dollars for subsidy a year per county.
okay.
And so that 112 is what our allocation from them. So that kind of passes through, but then the state gives us $80,000 to administer. So that helps pay our staff
Gotcha.
to administer those monies.
I thought I heard it said at some point that you get qualified for Medicaid.
So you're talking about work first.
Yeah, you could possibly qualify for work first, like.
Well, there's so much with it because work first also, you have to have children in the home.
It's different.
So,
Workforce is that umbrella, whether it's really 5 programs that kind of fall under that umbrella, and they're all a little different on how.
the mission behind work first is to keep people off government assistance and
As much as possible, that's kind of the overall goal. Is
kind of like the folks that, you work a little bit and all of a sudden you gotta pay daycare, pay food, pay for all this stuff. And it's like,
Kind of like a little buffer.
yeah, it don't make financial sense for some people to work. And so that's
And that is, I mean, that would be, I mean, it's
kind of a bridge there.
daycare is so
It's
expensive.
a good.
You start looking at the statistics of what the working class, working poor pay in daycare is substantially more than what other parts of the population pay that have greater,
If you have 2 people in
resources
daycare,
there.
there's very few jobs here that would provide enough income to justify working and paying for 2 kids in daycare.
So this is a huge, it's one of the things we probably, love to be able to serve more. Sometimes there's there's also guidelines that only certain families can be served with certain other circumstances. But the fact that we're able to pull and almost help 80 families on a monthly basis, but that is pretty
It's also
substantial.
good.
Are you having any trouble with placement of children in daycare?
No, we really haven't, had nothing's been brought to my attention that we have, that someone's sitting there basically with a voucher and not a placement. It's been a struggle, obviously, we've gone through some struggles, because we've lost some of our resources locally, as well as they're having staffing challenges and stuff like that, so sometimes the openings, but currently, I have not been made aware of any current challenges with that, and we're not running a waiting list right now, so anybody that's needing to be served is being served.
Any questions for Sean? Okay, thank you, Sean. Thanks for those, advocates for this, Ms. Hannon?
So we haven't reported financials in a while, last month, this December, so I'm just gonna go ahead and report on January. I don't think we need to go back to December, but, as of January 31st, we are at 53% of all expenditures for all programs. We're 7 months into this fiscal year and we should be at 58%. So I'm happy to see that we're running 5% under cost in spite of some budgeting where we're hitting some accounts over. So happy for that. Our revenues are at 5 months in right now. We have unposted revenue that hit the 1st of February of 177,000. So that just makes us, we should be at 41% all programs in our reimbursements, and we're at 38. So we're just 3% under there. But with that unposted revenue, that'll take us back up. The only other thing I have for you guys is I wanted to just mention that we had talked about, one of the months I reported that we are separating our costs differently now for Medicaid, anything that is in the eligibility department. Some of those are reimbursed at a different rate than some of our other costs. So we're dividing that up, and we will lose revenue. However, this year the state is holding us harmless and catching us up. So whatever we lose, they turn around and reimburse us the rest of this fiscal year. However, next year we will incur that loss of revenue because we're not getting the 75-25 reimbursement that we used to see. So my estimate right now, as we look at this going forward, is we're going to see a loss of around $42,000 next year. And that is dependent on cost and how they fluctuate, but that doesn't seem to be huge to me. So I just wanted to mention that's not.
I'm sorry, I was looking at, sorry, how are we gonna lose that in order now?
So all of our costs now have to be, because the federal government said North Carolina wasn't claiming eligibility like right. So we were being reimbursed at 75%, the 75-25. But now some of those costs that are related to the eligibility programs, Medicaid and FNS and Workforce, those costs have to be separated out, and now they're being reimbursed at 50-50. So we incur a little bit of loss of reimbursement there. It's not huge. There's conditions, for example, office supplies. You can either separate those out and have services reimbursed, and then Medicaid and FNS, the eligibility department reimbursed, or you can put them all in a closet and say these are available to everybody, and then you can claim 75-25. So it's a little bit of an art on how you, if it's available to the whole agency, including the income eligibility, income maintenance department, then we can claim that. So we're learning more about that. They changed it on us suddenly. So, but because of that, they're holding counties harmless for the first year. So we can get an idea of what we're going to see next year.
Yeah, statewide, right? Statewide.
Oh, yeah, came down from the federal to North Carolina down to.
I saw that we are aware of the budget on overtime pay, but I guess we've addressed that at this point.
We have.
Okay.
So you will be seeing, there's a couple of counts you're going to see that are overtime's one of them. The other one is guardianship housing due to APS increase, like we've been talking and discussing, and then it's gas and oil. But however, as you see, those accounts are over right now. You're gonna also see a budget amendment because I've been looking at our budget. I think I can move some things around to cover and beef these accounts up, so we're not over.
Did the changes we make, has that helps? The changes we made with irons and visitation workers.
It's going to, you're not seeing it here because
Right.
they just started. So yeah, you're gonna still see a little more overtime coming in for February because in February, we pay January overtime. So it's gonna trip, you're gonna see a little bit of an increase and then it'll start dropping off thanks to our new staff.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions?
Where we're at. There are no items for discussion. Is there need for a closed session now? Board comments, Commissioner Harding.
Your own, excuse me, one thing that I noticed was the children in custody. 2020 to current, especially last year, how the numbers had dropped. My think it was 55 to 31. I know that's a good sign. And then probably reverse that with your APS. We've all been aware of that for the last couple of months. You've been trying to bring us up to speed and say, okay, we've got a situation and be ready for it. But good job, guys, looking at your budget. And everything, we're adding the budget for the year, this meeting months in looks very promising. And I'd say, Tanny, you will be able to move some monies, around to cover some of your items that have run over.
In our budget, I think.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ross. Commissioner Pittman.
Thank you guys for pulling that together. I forgot to even ask about it, so thank you for doing that. It actually makes it a little easier to look at, so thank you.
Anybody want to get an update on the new computer?
I was gonna say, you stole mine. I say you forgot that.
Very first time. Good, Rob. Yeah, it's great. We're still working last week about it, so.
That's what I was gonna say during my book on it. I couldn't believe you. I was gonna say tonight, Tammy Bryant as a computer.
We are hot and heavy in that bar, thinking it works for me.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, go ahead.
I will say, talking about the budget, when I'm up there and partnering with our DSS executive leadership team, I can say that they are very thrifty and try to stretch every taxpayer dollar as far as it can go. So, I appreciate that. I know that it's not always an easy task to stay within that budget when we have such a huge amount of needs, but some of that stuff's unforeseen. There's not much you can do about it, but just eat it. And I appreciate y'all's hard work to make it up somewhere else. I entertain a motion to adjourn.